A while ago, I made a video about what makes a mystery box story. I outlined 10 things a story needs to do to be a good mystery box. Well, in this new series, I'm going to pick a mystery box story and go down the list, discussing how much it gets right. Then at the end, I can give it a rating out of 10 to show how good a mystery box it is. For this first episode, I'm judging Lost, the quintessential mystery box story. Let's see how it holds up. Lost debuted in 2004 on ABC. It was created by Jeffrey Lieber, Damon Lindelof, and of course, J.J. Abrams. Even though he only worked on it for the first half season, this show is what Abrams is best known for. It's what established his reputation as the mystery box guy. And that reputation is definitely deserved. Lost has maybe the most convoluted and mysterious plots of any show ever written. As I said in my last video, a mystery box story is a genre where the plot is built around a large web of interconnected mysteries that slowly unravels as the story progresses. It's a relatively recent concept, best suited for long television series. You could argue that Lost is the most mystery box story there is. I called it the quintessential mystery box story because it's basically what solidified the genre, and coupled with the Abrams TED Talk, is what gave the mystery box its name. But Lost's legacy is more complicated than that. It's also one of the most controversial shows of all time. People love it or hate it either because of or in spite of its mystery box elements. And its ending. This is what sticks in our cultural memory the most, either as a great finale or the most disappointing ending of any TV show ever.
It's the first season of Lost on DVD.
That's the meaning of Christmas?
No, it's a metaphor. It represents lack of payoff.
So how much of a mystery box is Lost? Is the show as a whole more good or bad? And does the mystery box of it all make the show better or worse? I intend to find out. Oh, and over the course of this video, I'll be spoiling basically the entire show, just so you know. Mystery box story element number 1. Start with one huge, obvious mystery. The show opens in the aftermath of a plane crash. Those who survive are now castaways, stranded on an uncharted island. The rest of the show is about them attempting to stay alive and find a way back home. But this is no ordinary island. As they explore, they encounter a strange supernatural creature that eats the plane's pilot. The smoke monster. That is the first mystery of the show. Just what is this smoke monster? And on a more general level, what is this island? The first episode also introduces most of the main cast of characters. There are a lot of them, so I'll just list the most important ones here real quick. The main character of the show is Jack, a surgeon with daddy issues. There's also Kate, an escaped convict, Charlie, a drug-addicted rock star and part-time hobbit, Hurley, an unlucky lottery winner and all-around nice guy, Sawyer, an abrasive con man, Saeed, an Iraqi military man, Locke, a spiritual man who used to be in a wheelchair before the island healed him, Sun and Jin, a married couple from Korea, Michael, a father attempting to reconnect with his until recently estranged son, Walt, Boone and Shannon, step-siblings in their early 20s, and Claire, a pregnant woman. As the season unfolds, the characters start discovering more about the island and each other, and we can easily check off mystery box criteria number 2. Have more than one mystery. Here are some of the other questions raised in Season 1. Saeed repairs a radio transceiver and picks up a distress call in French. This leads them to a French woman named Rousseau. She's been stranded on the island for 16 years, and there are a whole host of questions surrounding her. Is she trustworthy or is she crazy? Did she murder her fellow castaways? Her mission is to find her missing daughter, Alex. Where could she be? Meanwhile, it seems like Walt has some kind of psychic powers. Jack starts seeing visions of his dead dad. There's a maroon pirate ship called the Black Rock and an old biplane, both of unknown origins. And for some reason there are polar bears on this tropical island. In between those, there are flashbacks that explore the lives of each character before the plane crash. Each one raises and answers questions about their pasts. But the main mystery of Season 1 is that of the others. As the season progresses, the characters discover that there's a civilization of people living deep in the island, and they're not friendly. One of them infiltrates the survivors' camp and tries to kidnap Claire. and in the season finale they successfully kidnap Walt. Their motive for doing these things? Unknown. I would love to summarize all of the show's mysteries so I could talk about how it all fits together, but there's no such thing as a brief summary of Lost. Dear God, there's so much to cover. But I'm going to try to hit all the major plot points and questions so we're all kind of on the same page. Okay, here goes. At the end of Season 1, Locke found a weird hatch in the jungle that he finally opens in the season finale. Inside is a research station where a guy named Desmond has been trapped for years. He has to enter a set of numbers into a computer every minute or so. 4, 8, 15, 16, 23, 42. Otherwise, the world will end, supposedly. The one time he didn't do it, it sent out an energy pulse that crashed the survivor's plane. This research station was built by a group called the Dharma Initiative, some kind of scientific organization that was trying to study the island but has since disappeared. They discover a second group of plane crash survivors on the other side of the island, but most of them have been captured and recruited by the others. This introduces new characters Ana Lucia, Libby, and Mr. Echo, but they all die in like the span of one season. It turns out that the pilot of the biplane was Mr. Echo's brother, who used it to fly drugs across the world. The survivors capture a guy named Ben, who turns out to be the leader of the others. Michael betrays the rest of the group. He frees Ben and leads a bunch of major characters to be captured by the others in exchange for Walt and a boat ride home. Desmond turns off the hatch for good with a failsafe key. This does something to him though. Desmond's mind starts occasionally jumping back to the past when he was with his girlfriend Penny Widmore off the island. There's also this weird lady named Mrs. Hawking who knows things about the island and the future. Desmond also gains the ability to predict the future. We get to learn more about the others while the main characters are their prisoners, mainly that they're pretty normal people all things considered. They somehow live in a whole suburban neighborhood in the center of the island. We meet Juliet, an other who seems pretty nice, and Richard, an other who's maybe immortal. We also learn that Ben has an adopted teenage daughter named Alex, and now we know where Rousseau's missing baby went. Speaking of babies, apparently all the mothers who conceive a child on the island die in childbirth. A big boat shows up off the island's shore. At first, the survivors think it's a rescue boat from Desmond's girlfriend Penny, but it's actually her jerk of a dad, Charles Widmore, who is there to kill everybody on the island. A team of scientists parachute onto the island. Daniel, Miles, Charlotte, and Frank. Miles can talk to dead people somehow. It's eventually revealed that they were sent by Charles Widmore, but they're not as murdery as he is, so they end up teaming up with the rest of the survivors. Locke searches for a guy named Jacob, whose name keeps popping up as the man in charge of the island. And there's also this guy dressed in all black who's definitely bad news. A war starts between the survivors, the others, and Widmore's people. And in the meantime, the show flashes to more scenes of some survivors back home off the island, and they all have different hairstyles to show that's a different time period. But then you learn that this is a flash forward, not a flashback. Widmore is defeated, and those same survivors fly off the island in a helicopter. Then we get to Season 5. This is where the show introduces time travel. I'm not even going to try to explain all this stuff, but the general idea is Ben turns this big wheel thing which unmoors the island in space and time. This sends groups of survivors teleporting through various periods in the island's history. This answers a lot of questions as we see the history of the island, but it raises even more by way of crazy time travel paradoxes. In general, it works like a closed loop, with characters going back in time and causing some of the events that we heard about in earlier seasons. This keeps going until a nuclear bomb blows up and makes it stop. Through this, we learn that Charles Widmore used to be an other, but he got exiled. The nuclear bomb led to the creation of the hatch. Mrs. Hawking also used to be an other, and she is Daniel's mom. This guy is Miles' dad. And we finally get to meet this Jacob guy, but at the end of the season, Ben kills him. Whew. Okay, that's a very broad summary of seasons 2 through 5. I only hit on the biggest mysteries and plot points. If I got into specifics about every single question raised and answered in the show, this video would be 4 hours long. If you want a full summary, there are other places to find one. I want to move on and talk about how these mysteries are structured. The mysteries come in a few different forms. First, there's the most obvious one. Weird stuff on the island. Polar bears, the hatch, the wheel, Jacob, the smoke monster. Things with unknown origins. Then there's mysterious backstory. Events that happened in a character's past or the island's past that slowly gets revealed through flashbacks or time travel. Also, mysterious future, where there will be a prophecy or a flash forward. You'll know something that will happen, but you don't know how it will happen. And there are mysterious motivations. This is by far the most numerous type of mystery. Every time a new character is introduced, it's unclear whose side they're on and what they want. The main characters in the audience always have to wait to find out if a person is trustworthy. Besides the mystery, this is also the show's primary source of suspense. Let's get back to that checklist. We can go ahead and check off number 3. None of these questions exist in a vacuum. Every mystery solved opens up 2 or 3 more. Like the hatch. That's a simple question to start. What's inside? When Locke and company finally do open it though, They find a guy named Desmond, and that he has to enter a set of numbers to stop the world from ending. We also learn that the hatch was made by the Dharma Initiative. Plus, separate mysteries end up tying together in unexpected ways. Like how the code Desmond has to enter into the hatch computer is the same set of numbers that Hurley used to win the lottery. And the existence of the hatch implies that the people who made it were able to travel on and off the island. As the show goes on, the mysteries keep multiplying until there's a staggering amount of open plot threads. And for number 4, the audience definitely knows that these are mysteries they should be curious about. That's what made the first season of Lost a hit. That curiosity, that burning desire to know more. Is it long? You bet it's long. It's 6 seasons of over 20 episodes each. This isn't just about pure length, though. The length of a mystery box story should complement the size of the mysteries. A long mystery box story means nothing unless it has enough mystery to fill that time. That's why number 6, Pacey Reveals, is so important. Lost has no trouble with that, though. The show never runs out of mystery to keep the show going. I'm giving Lost a yes in both of these categories, with a few caveats. Lost is long, yes, but it wasn't planned to be that long. Like any TV show from this era, it was at the mercy of studio executives, who would either extend it or cut it short depending on its ratings. The show's creators have shared that the general idea was to run for 2 or 3 seasons, but when the show became a massive hit, ABC pushed for more until it ended up being double that length. The writers generally do a good job of coming up with enough plot to fill its time. The show never really feels stretched out or that it continued past the story's conclusion, but there were definitely some plot lines that were negatively affected. Walt's arc is the most obvious. It's clear that the writers had big plans for him and his powers at the outset, but as the show went on, Walt's actor hit puberty. Since the timeline in-universe was a lot shorter than the time it took to make and release the show IRL, this really messed with things. So they basically wrote Walt out of the show until the end. In the process, they shafted Michael's character arc. Without Walt to bond with, he has no reason to be in the show. So they made him turn traitor and then kill him off. And the plotline where 6 survivors left the island was clearly added because they ran out of interesting events to flash back to, and this gave them the opportunity to flash forward instead. The fact that they all came back to the island after the flash forwards were done makes this pretty transparent. It's never enough to derail the show, but if the writers had the opportunity to plan out all 6 seasons from the start, the storytelling would have been a lot smoother. Okay, number 7. For this one, I need to apologize and make some revisions. I said that rule number 7 is to be clear whether things are literal or metaphorical, but that's super vague and confusing. When I made that first video, I didn't have the vocabulary to explain it. The word I was looking for was diegetic. Be clear whether the mysterious things are diegetic. That sounds like a fancy academic word, but it's not that complicated. Diegetic basically means existing in the story world. A diegetic story element is something that happens as a real, literal part of the story. A non-diegetic story element is any narrative device outside the story world that is used to tell the story in an artistic way. It's most commonly used to describe sound. So in a movie, when characters talk to each other in a scene, that's diegetic. But narration, that's non-diegetic. A movie soundtrack is non-diegetic, but if somebody's playing an instrument on screen, diegetic. This also applies to visual elements. Take this example. The trope where a dead character starts following around the protagonist, taunting them. This dead character might be an actual ghost from the afterlife, or the protagonist might be insane, hallucinating the dead person. Both of these cases are diegetic, since the protagonist can see them and it's part of their perspective. But sometimes, this dead person might represent a nagging voice in the protagonist's head. It's their insecurities and doubts, visualized for the audience's benefit. That would be non-diegetic. The rule of thumb is, if the characters can see it, hear it, touch it, or at least know it's there, it's diegetic. But the line isn't always so clear. When you mix the two, you get something like the last shot of The Shining. It shows a photo with Jack in it, dated decades before he was even born. As the movie closes, you're left thinking, wait, was that photo real? Is Jack immortal? Is he a time traveler? Or is it like a metaphor for the spirit of the hotel or something like that? There are so many diegetic and non-diegetic ways to interpret it. What does this have to do with mystery boxes? Well, this is a genre defined by throwing weird, crazy, unknown stuff at the audience. If the audience can't tell which weird things are part of the story, and which ones are symbolic, solving a mystery becomes way harder, and more importantly, way less fun. Lost is mostly very good at drawing this distinction. Basically everything we see is diegetic, and it's clear that they are diegetic, except the flash sideways. So by season 6, the show had run out of flashbacks. and it had caught up to the flash forwards, so instead, the show flashes to an alternate reality where the plane never crashed. All the main characters are living regular lives, except things are different. Flash sideways is the accepted fan term for this, I didn't make it up. Anyway, by the finale, this does get an explanation, and I'll talk about it later, but it's still not the easiest thing to understand. After 5 seasons of everything feeling real and grounded, this had people asking all the questions you don't want in a mystery box. Is this a parallel universe? Is it imaginary? Is it all a metaphor? Its ambiguity left a lot of people confused and frustrated. And for a lot of people, it led them to believe that nothing in the show was real.
What I was actually disappointed with the answer it gave, which it felt like the answer was all of the things that just happened didn't really mean anything. They kind of didn't happen. That was my takeaway from it.
What do you mean they didn't happen?
It was like...
This is the worst case scenario for mixing diegetic and non-diegetic elements. And for that, I have to say, no, Lost does not always make clear what is diegetic. Before I move on, I want to do a quick trope rundown. See, I've consumed many mystery box stories, and I've noticed that a lot of them use the same kinds of plot elements to draw things out. And I think it's fun to catalog them. First, there's the shady organization pulling the strings from the background, preferably with an ominous sounding name. This is by far the most common mystery box plot trope. A great way to keep information from the audience is to have a group of people dedicated to keeping that information a secret. In Lost, that's both the Dharma Initiative and the others. Next, many mystery box stories have some kind of literal mystery box, meaning an actual locked box that has secrets inside. Lost has the hatch. Then there's the monster in the shadows. It's the alien principle. If we never get a good look at it, it becomes way more terrifying because of fear of the unknown. In Lost, that's the smoke monster, obviously. Next, is there time travel? Time travel is a great way to make mysteries 10 times messier and more complicated. I've already complained about Lost making effective use of this. Finally, no mystery box is complete without somebody who shows up now and again to spout cryptic dialogue. This is the quintessential mystery box stock character. It's clear that they know all of the answers we're dying to learn about, but they only ever give us a few vague clues at a time. It's how the writers dump important info on us while simultaneously whetting our appetite for more. Lost has a couple of these: Mrs. Hawking, the Man in Black, and most importantly, Jacob. And now we get to the ending. 8. The ending should wrap up most things, but it shouldn't wrap up everything. People love to rip on the ending of Lost. Today, it's synonymous with disappointing finales. But I think Lost deserves a little more credit than people give it. Technically, Lost fulfills this requirement on paper. It is an answer to the central question of what is that island? And the final season wraps up a decent amount of plot threads and open questions. The Rosetta Stone for most of the show is the pair of flashback episodes with Richard and young Jacob and Man in Black. These episodes give the audience a lot of straight answers for once, and from there you can extrapolate a lot about the rest of the show. Without further ado, here is the ending of Lost explained. Jacob explains to Richard that the island is a cork in a bottle. Its existence keeps evil from taking over the entire world and destroying reality as we know it.
Think of this wine as what you keep calling hell. There's many other names for it too. Malevolence, evil, darkness. And here it is, swirling around in the bottle, unable to get out, because if it did, it would spread. The cork is this island, and it's the only thing keeping the darkness where it belongs.
We don't know why this is the case, but at that point, that line of questioning is too huge for the show to answer. You might as well be asking why God exists. The island needs a protector. When Jacob was a baby, he and his brother, the Man in Black, washed up on the island and were adopted by the previous protector. They grew up, and the Man in Black killed their adopted mother. Jacob became the new protector and threw the Man in Black into the heart of the island, which turned him into the smoke monster. Jacob, as protector, has been marooning people over the years in an effort to find a new protector to succeed him. This has been going on for centuries. Jacob pulls a boat or a plane onto the island because he thinks one of the passengers might be a good candidate for a keeper. Meanwhile, the Man in Black / smoke monster wants to kill Jacob and leave the island, but he's magically forbidden from doing so.
I've made it so you can never hurt each other.
So he corrupts Jacob's candidates and tries to trick them into killing Jacob for him.
Do you have any idea how badly I want to kill you?
Yes?
One of these days, sooner or later, I'm going to find a loophole, my friend.
Well, when you do, I'll be right here.
Light and dark. The numbers, in part, are references to a list of potential candidates for Jacob's replacement: Locke, Jack, Sawyer, Hurley, Saeed, Jin, Sun. The others are a civilization of people made up of the various island wrecks. They're the leftovers, the people who weren't candidates. They're followers of Jacob and they worship him like a god, which he kind of is. Richard/Ricardos is Jacob's liaison to the others. When he came to the island on the Black Rock, Jacob granted him immortality and made him his right-hand man. In the 1950s, the American military found the island and tried to use it for nuclear testing, but the others wiped them out. Something similar happened in the 1970s with the Dharma Initiative. The others wiped them out with the help of a young Ben, a member of Dharma who turned traitor. Shortly before that, though, there was an incident where the island's electromagnetic energy became unstable, but it was held at bay by detonating a nuclear bomb, necessitating the hatch and the entering of numbers every 108 minutes. This all happened in the past, but many of our main characters heavily influence the events by time traveling from the future. What makes the island so special? It has a kind of pseudo-scientific explanation, sort of, and that's that the island has a high concentration of electromagnetism. This is a huge buzzword throughout the show.
Electromagnetism.
Of electromagnetism.
Electromagnetism.
It's used as a catch-all explanation for almost anything. What caused the incident? Electromagnetism. Where do Walt's powers come from? Electromagnetism. Why does the island kill mothers in childbirth? Electromagnetism.
You keep using the word. I don't think it means what you think it means.
For a lot of mysteries, we don't get any answers more in depth than this. Also, Desmond is special because his experiences on the island have given him unique electromagnetic properties, allowing him to do certain things on the island that no one else can. At the end of Season 5, the Man in Black finally succeeds in his mission. He gets Ben to kill Jacob. But he still can't leave the island until all of Jacob's candidates are also dead. So he possesses Locke's dead body and tries to manipulate them into dying. But it doesn't work. Jack becomes Jacob's replacement. Jack tricks the Man in Black into thinking he wants to destroy the island. Together they send Desmond down into the heart of the island, because Desmond's special electromagnetism powers make him the only one who can do it and live, to pull the plug and sink the island. But it's all a ploy, because when the plug comes out, the Man in Black loses all of his powers. He and Jack fight, Jack kills the Man in Black, but is mortally wounded. They put the plug back, Jack makes Hurley the new protector, and then Jack dies. The Flash Sideways is a sort of purgatory or limbo that exists outside of time. Regardless of when the characters died, their spirits all came to this afterlife reality to work out their issues. This is explained pretty clearly by Jack's dad in the final episode.
You died.
Yeah. Yes, I did.
I died too.
Everyone dies sometime, kiddo. Some of them before you, some long after you. This is a place that you all made together so that you could find one another. Let go. Moving on.
In the final scene of the show, they all gather in a church and pass on into the afterlife. They were not dead the whole time. Everything in the show really happened. The Flash Sideways is the only thing that's not quote-unquote real. Now, you can be forgiven for not figuring all that out on your first watch through. I know I didn't.
It was really confusing.
Yeah, well, get used to it.
But it is all there. It just takes a near superhuman ability to remember every plot thread. Or at least an army of dedicated fans to piece it together and put it on the internet. All things considered, it has pretty satisfying answers to its biggest questions. And the way it goes about revealing those answers is ideal for a mystery box story. It puts all the information out there, but it makes you work to put it together. Here's the issue. Lost sticks the landing with the big mysteries, but it drops the ball with the small mysteries. For every huge reveal in the final season, there are 5 or 10 plot points left unresolved. Here's a non-exhaustive list of every question left unanswered. This is what made the ending a failure in the eyes of so many fans. Lost got so huge and ran for so long that I think even the writers lost track of everything they introduced. By the end, they had left enough Chekhov's guns to fill an armory. So the fans watching the finale couldn't be happy with the big answers. They kept focusing on all the little things, and when the finale didn't address them, they couldn't accept it. They thought, that can't be it. What about all those other things? They have to factor into the ending. Otherwise, why were they in the show in the first place?
Can you hear me? Why are you answering my questions?
Seems kind of wishy-washy.
Damn
Crap! Crap! Son of a... I want some friggin' answers!
It's just too much unexplained. Fan theories and reading between the lines isn't enough to fill all the holes in the story. Although I'm a big fan of the idea that it was the rabbits that were pulling the strings all along. Those fluffy little devil spawn were up to something, I just know it. This leads directly into number 9, because the answers to the mysteries were not set up in advance. It is well documented that when Abrams and company made the pilot, they didn't know where the show was going. They wrote the pilot, and they threw in a bunch of weird mysterious stuff figuring they could come up with an explanation later. This is how the show was written. As it kept getting renewed, the writers would answer some questions and add new ones, but rarely with an eye on the future. Up until the final seasons, they were coming up with most things on the fly. This approach shows in the final product. Like I already mentioned, there are a ton of little questions raised and never mentioned again. In Season 3 and 4 in particular, a lot of the big questions introduced aren't natural extensions of the previous questions. It's mostly just new stuff added on top of everything else that gets tied in later. The show's mysteries are like a Russian nesting doll, adding new layer after new layer. And eventually, Lost collapsed under its own weight. It introduced way too many things to ever satisfyingly resolve. Even though we did get some answers in the form of Jacob and the Man in Black and the candidates, only the most naive viewers could think that they had planned those answers from the beginning. One detail that I think exemplifies this really well is the noise that the smoke monster makes. Whenever it attacks, it makes mechanical sounds like a crank turning. When I first noticed this, I thought that this could mean that the smoke monster was really a man-made machine. The sound design seemed so at odds with its otherwise supernatural presentation that it had to be an intentional detail, right? But no. The smoke monster was given a fully mystical explanation, and the cranking sound is never addressed. Now, I'm not the kind of guy who will get mad at a TV show for disproving my fan theory. I promise. But looking back on the whole series, it seems obvious now that they just threw in that noise to make the monster more mysterious, with no further thought put into it than that. Lost commits the cardinal sin of mystery box storytelling, letting the audience know that it was just making things up as it went along. Okay, I've spent enough time criticizing Lost. I want to end this on a high note, because Lost is a good show, even if it fumbles some of the key mystery box requirements. Luckily, there's still one more item on the list. Number 10. Does Lost have good characters? No question, Lost gets a resounding yes. For all its faults, Lost absolutely nails this. The characters are what power the show, and make it compelling where the mystery can't. The plot of the show might be built around mystery, but it's the characters that are the true heart of the story. Each and every major character has complex emotions and motivations, gut-wrenching backstories, struggles, triumphs, and full arcs. This show's reputation would suggest otherwise, but it is a masterclass in character-based drama. In the final episodes, the writers' priorities are clearly not to wrap up every little mystery. They focus on where it really counts, completing every character arc, and making sure that every character gets a good send-off. And this upset a lot of people, but I think it was the right call. I could make a whole other video about all the characters and what makes them great, but for this I'll just hit on a few of my favorites. Locke is the best of the core cast. His religious devotion to both the island and his own personal philosophy is fascinating to watch. Even when you disagree with him, his ironclad resolve and determination is incredible. Desmond is the guy who's been through hell and back, but he never becomes jaded. He's always determined to do the right thing and help the people he loves. And his relationship with Penny is something we all wish we had. Ben is an awesome antagonist. Even though he does underhanded, terrible things to the main cast, he's a sympathetic villain. He's constantly conflicted, struggling to overcome his personal weaknesses. Michael Emerson is the best actor in the show, and given the talent of the overall cast, that's really saying something.
What was it that was so wrong with me? What about me?
Before I wrap things up, I want to go through a few of my favorite moments. The most emotional moment of the whole series, I think, is this one here. Charlie has spent an entire season dodging a prophecy that he's going to die, but then he willingly sacrifices his life to give Desmond that critical warning. Curly's mom.
I have needs.
No, no, no!
Why there's a dead Pakistani on my couch?
That twist reveal that Locke had been in a wheelchair the whole time.
Hey, don't you walk away from me. You don't know who you're dealing with. Don't ever
ever tell me what I can't do, ever!
When Frank turns around and sees who he's flying.
Well, hello, Doc. What are you doing going to Guam? Sometimes I take the big birds into Delhi. That's Saeed. And Hurley. We're not going to Guam, are we?
And this moment in the final season where Sawyer is just done with everything.
What do you need a boat for? Can't you just turn into smoke and fly your ass over the water?
Do you think if I could do that, I would still be on this island?
No, because that'd be ridiculous.
Its decision to focus on character in the finale instead of explaining every little mystery made a lot of people mad. But Lost set itself up for failure. The unplanned nature of its production made it impossible to create and solve mysteries in a satisfying way. I think the writers made the best decision they could given the circumstances. There's a lot more good than bad here. Maybe it doesn't nail the mystery box concept as a whole, but above all, it tells a great story. Lost's final mystery box rating is 7 out of 10.